Hi everyone.
Just introduced the topic, self-love, just a small topic as we were thinking about. But I think it's an important one for us to broach, to explore, to at least throw in the mix.
Yeah, why not? So, when it comes to self love, how do you show your self love?
I'm not that good at it actually. I mean, I'm okay looking after myself. I do try to do that, but I actually, for a long time, have thought, do I love myself? I'm still in a bit of a quandary. I mean, I guess I do in many ways, but I think I could do it better. And I think as I get older, or the whole anti-aging thing in my head, which I'm not really into, I'm not anti-aging, but I'm struggling to sometimes embrace me where I'm at, accept and fully live my. I'm stumbling with this one. Do I love myself? I like myself, but I struggle with the whole love myself, what it would look like, and how my life might be different if I did. And I aspire to falling in love with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. What about you, Alexis?
Like I had a chat with um Annie before about that definition of what self-love is. Can everyone hear me? Feely? Okay. So culturally, I'll tell you what it means from, some from like I can only speak from my Vietnamese background is the perception of self-love for a lot of well, especially my family, initially was very much about like being selfish. So if you were told to practice self-love, the perception is, oh, you're so into yourself, you don't, it's not community, it's not family, it's all that sort of stuff. But if you like, and I've had to work through this sort of block or barrier for me and my family, and I teach my kids the perception of self-love is more about self-nurturing. So when you say self-love, sometimes it doesn't resonate for people. Whereas if you're nurturing yourself, yeah, everyone should do it. You should actually so do things that nurture your mind, body, soul, that type of thing. So, but it took a long time because the perception of self-love or self-nurture could be perceived as being selfish. And I don't know how you guys feel about that sort of thing.
It's the same sort of stigma, basically. It's interesting. I was chatting to my little granddaughter a little while ago, and I said, who loves you? And she said, oh, mummy loves me, and you love me, and daddy loves me, and I love me. And I just thought that was so wonderful. Hopefully, there's this new generation of children coming through that actually get self-love without that stigma, without the, oh, you're up yourself, or you're into yourself, or that sort of thing. But you're right, it is about nurturing.
Yeah.
And it's about making choices that are good for you. I know that when I have some negative self-talk, my partner will say, don't talk to my partner, don't talk about my partner like that. Do you know what I mean? And so it's about choosing not to be around negativity, or choosing not to get involved in the drama, or choosing to take some time out because you've had a really full-on day. Do you know what I mean?
It's I think it's sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
Just on that point, we spend so much of our time focusing on what's going on around us, managing it, dealing with issues, dealing with problems, just in survival mode a lot of the time. So to actually love ourselves, it's coming home to us, it's sitting with us, it's sitting, how am I feeling? What do I need? What do I want? Not, and rather than looking for external people or situations to fill my heart, fill me, help me feel good in myself. It's about sitting with me. It's coming back to myself, going and just not and knowing it's okay to do that. In fact, we need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to look after ourselves first.
And fill your cup up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's made it, and I also think of what I have friends that I love, family members who I love. Do I stop loving them when they behave badly or do something crazy or mess up or make mistakes? Absolutely not. So the same applies to myself.
Yeah.
And it's such a wonderful thing to instill in children, absolutely, to
Yeah.
actually to just believe in themselves. And when you believe in yourself, gosh, there are so many more possibilities that that you see, that you.
Well, you become unstoppable then, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, when you have that self-belief and that self-love. And we're getting love, look.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending us some love hearts.
And I have to admit, when the whole anti-aging thing that's been going on for so long, it kind of makes people, or can make you doubt yourself, whether you're worthy, whether you're good enough, whether you are enough. And I don't think that helps us love ourselves just the way we are. I think that's a money-making machine for a lot of people, and they play on our vulnerabilities.
Yeah, that's true, because we buy into it. You know, we look in the mirror and we see more wrinkles, or see the grey hair, or see the belly fat because we've gone through menopause and it just won't shift. Does that mean we're any less lovable to ourselves or to anybody else? No. And if it does, they're not your people, right?
That's true. What do you think, Alexis?
I'm smiling because it's also choices that you make as well. Like at the end of the day, when we talk about nurturing ourselves, like, you know, Annie, you touched on it, and Caroline, being kind about the decisions that you make, but also being aware of the decisions you make. That's also self-nurture. Like, you know, have that glass of wine, celebrate it when you have it, but do you need to have the bottle of wine? Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, sit down and watch a movie with your family or have that quiet time, but do you need to stay there? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have to do it every day, or is it cutting into, you know, your growth time? Like, even anything, excess of anything is not nurturing, really, is it? But
That's true.
you kind of allow yourself to do that. Don't beat yourself up for it, but then be self-aware. I think that's a big thing. I think right now in everything that's happening around us globally, news, even internally, I think a lot of people are like speaking to us at Women in Bloom about their self in awareness, like their self actualization, their awareness of what they're doing, does, and like it's questioning, or maybe questioning is not the right word. Maybe it's self-awareness around how you're operating. If things aren't supporting you, serving you, or you're sitting at a table that doesn't really resonate with you anymore, is it okay to just get up and go, hey, these aren't my people anymore, and it's to be okay with it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of that going on at the moment, for all of us. Like, we talked about it this morning on what it means to be self-aware, to nurture yourself and that sort of thing, and to wake up to the ability to remove yourself, because that's a form of self-love as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I also think we don't have to have all our ducks in a row, the perfect life, know all the answers to everything, be doing everything we want in order to be lovable or to love ourselves. It's not conditional. So it's not, we don't have to, by not focusing on our faults or what we're getting wrong or doing wrong, it's about embracing those and having that awareness and choosing to love ourselves regardless of where we're at and what we're doing.
And as women, I think we are so good at beating up on ourselves, and the whole guilt thing. And a part of self-love is to just let it go. Just, how can I say this? We feel so much guilt so much of the time because we haven't, you know, the choices we've made or things like that. But it's okay to let that go and let love in its place.
Yeah, just be with ourselves. Just breathe and say, "I'll get through this.
Yeah,
I'm okay."
Because at the end of the day, we're doing the best we can, right?
Yeah.
And nobody knows what it's like to walk in our own shoes.
No.
We're making the choices we make because we think they're the best ones at the time. So, yeah, there's no room for guilt in that.
Do you know what's I came across something super interesting as well, and it just came to mind. There's also the preconditioning that we have, like when we're in our youth and we're with our families. And, you know, when you do something right, you get praised by your parents, and they're like, oh, you know, you're being a good girl, or you're being a good boy, or good on you for doing the right thing. And then when you're not, you don't get that praise, or you don't, you don't get the it's the reverse. And so I wonder, it's something that we need to look at, that generational trauma of, that whole, we feel like it's hard to nurture ourselves and do things for ourselves, because when we did something for other people, like our parents or the people that we look up to, it's it's not, do you know what I mean? It's celebrated in, oh, you're doing something for me. So it's not internal, it's external. And then we get that external validation, and then that sticks with us. And a lot of the motivational speakers and spiritual leaders at the moment are talking about that whole sort of generational trauma. And it's not just this generation, multiple generations where they've been, taught to do what other people want you to do, or be what other people want you to be, versus what brings joy to yourself, and nurturing yourself, and saying no. We touched on this before. The ability to say no sometimes doesn't feel right, but
You're absolutely
maybe
right.
it is. Yeah.
That awareness. I know, as a child, small child, primary school, I got told I was good at art. And so people were praising me for what I was doing. So what did I decide to do at that, I don't know, 7? I'm going to art school. That's where I should be, because I was people pleasing. I was thinking by doing what other people thought I would please them, I would be doing the right thing. It would be good for me. But I got there and thought, why am I here? Because I wasn't being true to myself. I didn't have the awareness or understanding that pleasing other people is not going to please you.
Yeah.
It's not going to nurture you, as you were saying before.
So true.
Awareness. It's a big topic, but self-love, we need it. And sometimes we can get to a stage in our life where we think, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who do I love? Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I loving?
Or do I love the person that I am right now? Like, when I look in the mirror, do I really, truly, genuinely love who I am? Love where I'm at, what I'm doing? Do I truly nurture myself right now in this moment? And that's the questions you should ask yourself. There's no right or wrong. I don't think, but it is a question that you should. It's kind of, what is it? What do they call it? Checking in on yourself.
I think they would be really scary scary questions for some people to ask themselves, though. It might be just checking in, but looking at yourself in the mirror and going, do you like who you are? Do you love who you are? That's life-changing stuff if the answer comes back and you're not happy with it, right?
Yes.
Because then you're going to have to start working on yourself. So I think some people just go through life flying under the radar and not doing any of that because it's outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, they stop caring, so they eat that extra donut, they have the bottle of wine, they start feeling bad because of it.
And it becomes this cycle, this self-fulfilling,
how can I love myself? Look at me.
Yeah.
But at any point in time, we can turn a corner and
anytime. Yeah. That's the thing. It it takes the courage to look in the mirror and say, do I really like myself? Do I like who I'm becoming? Do I like the situation I'm in at the moment? There's another big one. Do I like where I'm at in my life? Do I like my job, or am I just existing in it?
Yeah.
Big questions, but that can make all the difference in terms of really, truly loving yourself.
Yeah. I heard someone say recently, you don't have to like yourself to love yourself. Like, we don't always like the other things that other people do, but we still love them. But the same applies for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you check in by loving me and nurturing myself. What would that look like? What would that feel like? What can I do differently?
It's interesting you say that, because I was very much aware of that when I had my kids, and it was that whole, I don't like your behavior right now, but I still love who you are and what you're about, but your behavior is not serving you or me right now. So there's that, like, the difference. But how many kids have been brought up being aware of that? Like, knowing that it's not about the behavior. I mean, it's about the behavior. So you're doing things that aren't nurturing you, but your people still love who you are. So if you're aware of it, make the small incremental changes
Yeah.
because it's little bits every day versus one big massive change. So the little
Yes.
bits every day is a lot easier than, oh my gosh, I'm just going to get rid of everything. I'm just going to sell my house. I'm going to move to another country. Like really? How about you just stop having, that one glass of wine a night? Maybe have it at the end of the week or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's the little, and we've seen it individually. Like when you make those little, by the end of the year, you made these amazing changes. Like Caroline, like hats off to you. Like when you go to like a clean month, you're like every day, all right, I'm doing it. All right, you know what? And you're so kind on yourself when you're doing it too. So brilliant.
Thank you,
And
darling.
and that's what we want to encourage,
Mm.
the community and Women in Bloom. That's what we're about. You know, the big changes are great, but they're like massive. Like it's like scary changes. And sometimes that doesn't support everybody, but the small little bits every day then lead to this, this little humps every day turns into this massive mountain. And you're like, oh my goodness, I've climbed a mountain at the end of the year or
Yes.
at the end of 5 years or even at the end of the month. And we want to celebrate that. And I think that's what we're
Bob
about.
Proctor put it really beautifully. He said, if you are driving from one side of America to the other and you just change the direction a fraction, you're going to end up somewhere totally different. And that was just a really good analogy of making those little tiny changes like you're talking about and ending
Yeah.
up somewhere completely different.
Yeah, like
Because
Greenland.
it doesn't have to be earth-shattering changes or anything, you know? Yeah.
But it
I was,
is shattering because if you make those little changes, it is massive.
Just not all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
you can do the all at once thing, but I just think those who can do that are just so ready. Like you have to be so mentally ready to
Yeah.
go from 0 to 1,000. And sometimes it's required. Don't get me wrong. If you're in relationships that don't serve you or support you or actually are depleting, we talk to a lot of women who are in that space and we're like, you know what? There's someone out there who can hold your hand and support you through that massive change, like going from 0 to 1,000. But I'm, hoping that not everyone needs to go from 0 to 1,000. It might be that little bit every day. I'm like, what do I say? With grace and flow. So
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
little bits every day.
I think it's just taking a few moments regularly to stop and breathe and just feel into your body, reconnect, go home, and
That's so true. The power of taking a breath. Just, I find myself, at the moment, I'm doing a lot of work around changing my thought patterns and not, for more positively, there's a better way of putting it, but I find that if I fall into old thought patterns that aren't serving me, I take a breath and it literally just stops it right in its tracks. Just the simple act of taking a deep breath and going, I choose thoughts that nourish and empower me as opposed to imagining fake things that haven't even happened,
because we get into these habitual patterns and ways of doing things and being, and it takes a while for a new habit to form.
Yeah.
So,
you've just got to be on it. You have to be conscious of it. And the whole point for me personally doing that, it is a form of self-love because I do want to feel better in myself in any situation.
well, no one else can do that.
No, exactly. I have to. Yeah, we're all responsible for ourselves at the end of the day, aren't we?
So self-love, yes, it sounds great and it is important and it's something that it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It is. It could be small or could be massive, but you're right, Caroline, it's up to the individual. It's making those changes individually. Oh, it's a beautiful topic, but it's such a big one. Like when Annie said, "Oh, I picked this one," we're all like, how are we going to do that in half an hour?
Self-love part 10. That's us in August.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage women that if you're struggling, that's okay. A lot of us are. It's not a point where you get, oh no, I love myself. It's a
process.
It's a process. It's different for everyone, and everyone's journey is different. Everyone's story is different. So it's something to aspire to, and imagine what it would feel like if you did love yourself. I think that's really important. Sitting with, if I love myself, how would it feel? How would I think? How would I approach life? What would I do differently? And just entertaining that concept, I think, can create traction, can create change.
Yeah.
I think it's one step in the right direction. And if you already
I think it's great.
yourself, woo-hoo, good on you.
Yeah, that's it. More power to you. Literally, more power to you.
Send us a DM or send us a message if you're in this amazing space in your life at the moment that you just go, I am loving me all over me. I am, if you're at that stage, we want to hear from you. Actually, we want to hear from everyone. But for those who've already attained that self-awareness, I think it's amazing. Like we need to learn from those people. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yes. What are you doing? What are you drinking? What are you eating? What are you like? What are you?
What are you telling yourself?
Yeah.
What does your day look like?
Yeah. And because it doesn't matter what you look like, what size you are, how much money you've got in your bank, or where you live, that's all irrelevant when it comes to embracing who we are and loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Imagine how different the world would be if that's where we were coming from, our hearts, rather than here. And I think us women need to lead the way.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great note to finish on.
Yeah, probably.